What is up, fellas and lady fellas? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got another news video revealing a bunch of new cards. Just a lot of them for the collection pack in the OCG, which we don't get, but we will get the cards eventually. So we don't have a confirmed set for these. I can assume we're getting all of our fossil stuff together, though. So there's a good chance this will just be in the Battles of Legend. At least the new fossil cards revealed. But we've also got a new Rika card revealed to pair with the nice Adamantipator card we got revealed yesterday, as well as two new Flower Cardian cards and a new archetype called Glacial Beasts. Pretty cool. So let's jump into it. We got a lot of cards to get through. Let's start with the fossil stuff. We're going to start with Weathering Soldier or Efflorescent Knight. He's a level 4 Earth Rock effect monster with 2,000 attack, 1,200 defense, so he is very nice and big for a level 4. You can use the first effect with this card's name only once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, or if this card is destroyed by battle, you can add from your deck to your hand either one Fossil Fusion or one card that specifically lists Fossil Fusion in its text, except for another copy of Efflorescent Knight. And the second effect, once per turn during your end phase, this card loses 600 attack. I could have assumed there was going to be some kind of drawback to just having a level 4 that can be normal summon that's 2,000 attack. That's totally fine. What you're mainly using this card for is that send effect. It floats. If you want to just set it, even on like a bad hand, your opponent has to break through it by either sending it to grave or killing it by battle. You will get a search at least for a follow-up play on the next turn. Or you use Fossil Fusion to send it to the graveyard itself, like that way, and then go from there, as well as I think they have a new Foolish Burial card. So that's pretty cool. I like it. It's a searcher, but you do have to go a little bit roundabout to do it. You need to get him sent the right way. Then we go to a volley of fusions, all right? The first fusion here is Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. This is a level 6 Earth Rock fusion effect monster with 2,400 attack, 1,100 defense. His materials are one rock monster plus a level 5 or 6 monster, which is a little specific. I'm not going to lie, 5 or 6 are not the most common levels you'll find in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think 7 and 8 are honestly more common than 5 or 6. So depends. He's a little niche, but we'll see if we end up getting 5 and 6s in the archetype later on to make that a little easier. He must first be special summoned by Fossil Fusion, and the third effect is a hard once per turn. First effect of this card attacks defense position monster, you inflict piercing. Okay. When this attacking card destroys a monster by battle, you can activate this effect where this card can attack once again in a row. Okay. And the third effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard to target one monster on the field and destroy that monster. Now that's a little interesting to me because I believe this deck actually wants to like almost fuse up, like you fuse like the middle tier fusions up into the bigger tier fusions and keep going. So this does really work with that idea. If you won't go through him, then you cycle the fusion, you fusion again, and then he gets you a free pop. I love the free pop. Also, it seems like if you wanted to, you could just play like extra Foolish Burial or whatever. I think it's extra Foolish Burial, the one that sends an extra deck monster to grave from straight from the extra deck, and then you could just like, so that could just literally be a pop 1 monster essentially. Interesting stuff. I think he's pretty cool. Next up we have Fossil Warrior Skullbone. This is a level 4 Earth Rock fusion effect monster with 2,000 attack, 800 defense. His materials are a rock monster plus a level 4 or lower monster. Much easier to summon than the guy above, I will say that. He must first be summoned by Fossil Fusion, and his second effect is a hard once per turn. His first effect, however, says this card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. It's pretty nice. I mean, he's 2,000, his materials are pretty easy, and he just gets to attack 2 monsters. That could be decent. Second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 time stream from your deck to your hand. Also very nice. Again, like if the whole idea of this deck is just like keep going up, that's pretty good. And if we are making use of stuff like extra Foolish Burial, you could just send him and then get a search for time stream, essentially making extra Foolish Burial a card that searches time stream. Obviously, I think that card pays half your life points, so that's not the greatest, but if you're getting your engine to work, it may be worth it. We'll have to see. And then we also got to see what time stream does too. All right, our next fusion is actually the big Tyrannosaurus, Fossil Dragon Skull Gaios. He's a level 8 Earth Rock fusion effect monster with 3,500 attack. He's ginormous, 0 defense. I'm assuming he's kind of trying to play some beatdown. His materials are 1 rock monster plus 1 level 7 or higher monster in your opponent's graveyard. So like I said, 7 and 8s are probably more common than the other ones. than like 5s and 6s. But this one the monster has to be in your opponent's grave, the 7 or higher monster. So that is a little bit reliant on what your opponent is playing. But still, let's see what the rest it does. Obviously, it has to be summoned by Fossil Fusion. If this card battles an opponent's monster, before damage calculation, you can switch the current attack and defense of that opponent's monster until the end of the damage step. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage, and double any battle damage that your opponent takes from battles involving their monster and this fusion summoned card. So he does just kind of push for a lot of damage. He wipes out any monster. I don't see you being able to go into him too often. I think the other boss monsters are just generically better. You take a monster from your opponent's grave, it's a quick effect, so it is kind of like Disruption. Whereas this guy is just kind of a chungus, but he's cool. He's cool nonetheless, and maybe he is a tool that the deck will use when it's time to actually push all the way for game. Who knows? Next up, we have Fossil Dragon Skullgar. He's a level 4 Earth Rock Fusion Effects monster with 2,500. Dang, level 4, 2,500. 0 defense. His materials are a rock monster and a level 4 lower in your opponent's graveyard. So level 4 lower, but it has to be from your opponent's graveyard. So still not the hardest thing to do, but it does take a little bit of setup. He must first be summoned by Fossil Fusion. You can only use a second effect once per turn. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing. Not bad for 2,500. And the second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard to just add a Fossil Fusion from your deck to your hand. So again, we've got 3 cards that do some pretty cool things. Just pop a free monster, search Time Stream, whatever that does, and search your quintessential fusion spell. So not looking terrible here so far. Next up, we have Time Stream, a normal spell card. This is the card we were looking at before that gets searched by the level 4 fusion. He's a normal spell, and its effect reads, target 1 Fossil Fusion monster you control. Tribute that monster, and if you do, special summon from your extra deck 1 Fossil Fusion monster that is level 2 or 2 levels higher than the tributed monster's original level. This is treated as a fusion summon of Fossil Fusion, bypassing the restriction they have is that they have to be summoned by Fossil Fusion. So you tribute 1, get another. But what's important is that you actually don't tribute for cost. Targeting is cost, so if your opponent does stop this, negate this, you still don't lose your fusion that you had on field, which is very, very nice for sure. And the second effect says, during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish both this card and a Fossil Fusion in your graveyard. Fossil Fusion monster in your graveyard, sorry. Then target a Fossil Fusion monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So, you banish this and a fusion, special summon another fusion from your grave. So, don't even worry about it. Idiot. But yeah, you pretty much, it takes a little bit of setup, but this is an effect that can't even be used the turn it's sent to the graveyard. So it's a spell, it'd be sent, you'd use it, and then all the way on the next turn, there's a good chance if there was some pushback by your opponent, they added a fusion, or even if you just were already like fusing up a ladder, you would have eventually gotten to at the point where multiple fusions are engraved, and this could just get you one back to the field. Which is really nice. I mean, especially like mid to late game, just dropping like this guy back on the field could be a huge, huge bonus. Alright, then next spell card we have is Specimen Inspection, which is a normal spell card that you can only activate 1 with its name once per turn. First effect, or its only effect really, is reveal 1 Fossil Fusion in your hand, then send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, declare 1 monster type and level. And if you do that, your opponent sends 1 monster of the declared type and level from their deck, hand or deck, to the graveyard if there are any. So this card's like really weird, right? Like, you have to have a Fossil Fusion in hand, you have to give out a monster in hand, send a monster from your hand to the graveyard, and then you declare a type and level, and if your opponent has a monster of that type and level, they have to send it from their deck to the grave. Very, very strange card. Game 1, this seems like really, really impractical. Like, if you have no idea what your opponent's playing, like, how are you supposed to do this? I mean, maybe this is a blind second deck, so you'd already have seen your opponent's turn 1 play to then activate this and be like, oh, you're playing that? Okay, I'll make you send this because I know what that deck plays. You definitely want to have knowledge of a wide myriad of decks to make this card as worth. But it's interesting. It does like set up the fusion in 1 turn because the fusion wants to banish from grave. So you're sending a monster that you want to banish, a rock probably, and then you make your opponent send something that's the right level or a level that you can at least use for one of these guys. Interesting. Pretty interesting card. I don't know how applicable it is though. And then the last card we have here is Miracle Rupture. This is a normal spell card. You can only activate 1 with its name per turn. Send one level 4 or lower rock monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then, if Fossil Fusion is in your graveyard, draw one card. That's pretty dang good. I mean, especially with our guy up here, he just searches you a Fossil Fusion if, or a card that lists Fossil Fusion just when it's sent by card effect. So this essentially gets to be Rhoda in your deck, and if you already had a Fossil Fusion, so later in the duel it just gets higher ceiling. It's Rhoda and you draw a card. It's Engage. It's literally like Engage later in the duel, which is pretty good. It's once per turn though, so not quite Engage. It takes a little more setup, but I still think this is a good card. I think this might be a very important like 3 of consistency card for the deck for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much it for our next wave of Fossil stuff. I definitely expect to see maybe one more little wave of this before we have like the full thing. I mean, we already had 2 cards plus what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 8 plus the 2, so this is 10 cards. I would ideally like a couple more main deck monsters to really help like you get to stuff a little better and like have more consistent like rocks to get in your own grave, but we'll have to see on that. But pretty cool start for the fossils. All right, moving on to the Rika Queen, Strene, whatever. She's coming in Rise of the Duelist, so just like we had the Adamancipator card yesterday get revealed, we do have Rika here, because that's what they've been doing. They make decks, and then they immediately start giving them support in the following sets. She's a rank 4 water plant Exceed monster, so they have a 6 and an 8. This is their level 4. The stats are nice, 2,000 for a rank 4, pretty solid. Xyz's materials are 2 level 4 monsters, so completely generic, and you can use each effect of the first and second effects once per turn. First effect, you can detach 1 material from this card, then target a plant monster or a Rika card in your graveyard, add it from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, just get a free +1, get a card for free back to your hand. I like that. And the second effect, if this card is tributed while it has XYZ material, you can special summon a rank 5 or higher plant Exceed monster from your extra deck or graveyard. Then you can attach this card to it as XYZ material. Okay, so if you have a way to tribute this, you get to just plop any level 5, rank 5 or higher plant Exceed straight from the extra deck. That is any plant Exceed. It doesn't even have to be one of the 2 Rikas. Although if you do just want to go use this to get a resource, then go into the rank 8, and then the rank 8, because it has this as material, which is a plant, would get its effect as a quick effect, which is pretty nice. Maybe that could be worth. I'm not entirely sure, but that definitely has some potential of being like a nice little buff of, as in like even like the normal plays you do on your way to the rank 8, you're just doing all that, but you're doing it with 1 more card because you're just getting a free add off this and then going into the rank 8. Pretty interesting. I think this card's definitely a nice little helper for the deck, and I definitely wondered, because I was like, you can definitely make rank 4s in this deck, but like we only have a 6 and an 8, so this definitely is a nice help for the deck. And then we move to the last stuff here. This is more cards from the collection pack and the OCG. Let's start off with the Flower Cardian stuff. We have Flower Cardian Cherry Blossom, a level 3 Dark Warrior effect monster with 100 attack, 100 defense. If you control a level 2 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except for Flower Cardian. So if you can just get a 2 or lower Flower Cardian on the field, it is just a free body on board. But it does lock you into Flower Cardians, but I think that's what they do normally. So yeah, gets itself on board. Second effect, once per turn, you can tribute a Flower Cardian monster to draw a card, and if you do, show it. If it is a Flower Cardian monster, you can take a Flower Cardian monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. So a lot going on there. I think that's pretty standard for Flower Cardians too. You get to like tribute a Flower Cardian, draw a card, show it. If it is another Flower Cardian card, you get to either special summon or search another Flower Cardian monster as well. So it just kind of seems like another extender for them. I think it's pretty good. Jumps on the field pretty easy, gives you the potential to do that draw and dig for another monster that can just jump on the field. It's pretty cool. I think that's nice for the deck. And another, I think, Flower Cardian card here we have is Super All In. It's a normal spell card. This card says return 1 synchro monster you control to the extra deck. And if you do, special summon 4 Flower Cardian monsters from your graveyard, then draw 1 card from your deck. And if you do, reveal it. If it's a Flower Cardian, you could special summon it, ignoring its conditions. Otherwise, destroy as many monsters you control as possible. And if you do, have your life points. And the second effect, once per turn during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there by a flower Cardian monster's effect this turn, you can add one spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Or from your graveyard to your hand, sorry. This card's kind of wild. It's super risky, I would say, unless you have a way to stack the deck, because like you trade a synchro for 4 flower Cardians in grave. Then you draw one, and if that draw one is a flower Cardian, you're good to go, because you get to just get a 5th body on board. If it's not, you wipe your whole field, and then you deal yourself half your life points. I think it's really interesting. I think, like, I don't know if the deck has ways to stack, but if it can stack, then this card's definitely, like, potentially really good, like, really powerful. But we'll have to see. I don't know if the deck can stack, though. But, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we move to our last stuff of the day, new Glacial Beast archetype. This is Blizzard Wolf, a level 4 water aqua effect monster. He has 1400 attack, 700 defense, so stats nothing to scream home about. You can only use the first and second effect once per turn each. First effect, when a monster declares an attack, you can negate that attack, and if you do, special summon a level 4 lower water monster from your hand, except for Glacial Beast Blizzard Wolf. And the second effect, at the start of your opponent's battle phase, if you control no monsters and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card in attack position, but banish it if it leaves the field. Okay, so kind of a lot going on there. He kind of just negates an attack, and then special summons a level 4 lower water monster from hand. And then I guess you can come back onto the field if it's your opponent's battle phase and you have no monsters. Not very good. It's too like battle dependent. Battle's like really not what you want a deck built around these days. Then we have Glacial Beast Polar Penguin, a level 3 water aqua tuner. Has 800 attack, 1000 defense, and you can use one of its 2 effects once per turn. And only once that turn, so you have to pick one of its 2 effects to use every turn. First effect, if this card is special summon, you can target a monster your opponent controls, return it to the hand. And the second effect, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. Okay, so I think this one's actually pretty cool, because like you either, I mean, even as a generic water or just any kind of support card, if any deck it is a tuner, so you can't just needle fiber this out, but it won't. But it won't trigger because needle fiber negates effects. Interesting. I'm curious if there's like another way to just like special summon this and then get a bounce. If there are any decks that can just turbo this card out because it's kind of generic in that regard. Special summon it, get a bounce, then if you leave them on field and it's destroyed, get another bounce. Could be decent, honestly. Could definitely be decent. And then they have a synchro rounding us out. This is Glacial Beast Iceberg Narwhal. He's a level 7 water aqua synchro, 2700 attack, 1600 defense. He takes 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-water tuners, so it does need a little bit of water synergy. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Each time another monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle with an opponent's attacking monster or by an opponent's card effect, deal 600 damage to your opponent. Okay, it's not very good. Like, your opponent's probably just going to be killing this card first anyway. During the battle phase, is the second effect. During the battle phase, when your opponent activates a card effect while you control another monster, quick effect, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. Again, like, it's so, like, why? Like, I get it. It's a negate and destroy, which is always good in Yu-Gi-Oh!, but it's only during the battle phase. So many decks can literally just like out you before the battle phase. On your own battle phase, it's nice because it means like if you go into battle phase and you're trying to apply pressure and your opponent tries to like mess with you, you can just say like, fuck you, I got one negated turn in the battle phase, so I'm not affected by that. So if you can get to your battle phase, it could be nice, but otherwise like your opponent's probably just outing this card before then, and it's not even that big a deal. So honestly, I would say this one's not very good and this one's not very good, but this one could generically have some applications in like other decks for sure, like random decks that can just special it out pretty easily. That's pretty cool. But yeah, that's all our stuff for today, guys. The cool fossil cards, the new Glacial Beast, 2 new Flower Cardians, and the 1 new Rika card. So a lot of news actually coming out. I like that Konami's not just like staying away from all news and just kind of going and hiding. They are still releasing stuff, which is really cool. But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date on all Yu-Gi-Oh! News. I know this video is a little longer. I want to do these separate, but I'm kind of I'm kind of tight on time, so I'm just going to throw them together and just do them all at once. So apologies for the longer video, but thank you if you made it this far. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.